Hello, my name's Tanya and this is my channel Just Let Me Sew. Thank you so much for coming along to watch today. Welcome back if you have been here before, and thank you so much for joining if you are new. I hope you enjoy my videos and consider subscribing as well. So I haven't really got all that much to share this week. I was out of action last week for 3 days with a migraine, so I didn't get anything done for 3 days, just laid up. But I have got a couple of little bits to share. First one I want to share is what I am wearing today, and I am so pleased with how this has turned out. This is the Seamwork Amari. They call it a jacket, but it's more like a jumper, a sweatshirt, I would say. It is quite oversized how the original pattern is, but I've tweaked it a little bit, which I will share with you what I've done. I made it up in this lovely quilted jersey fabric that I got from Pound Fabrics a while ago. I looked at their website last night and it is now sold out, but they have got some other quilted jerseys. They've got a grey, red and burgundy, and they're just £3.50 a metre, which I think is an absolute bargain. Really good, and it's quite warm. I mean, it's probably polyester, so that's why it's quite warm, but really pleased with it, really pleased with it. So the reason I wanted to make this up was because I had seen quite a few people on Instagram making up a half zip sweater, in particular the made for me, or I think that's what it's called. I'll put the name down below, I can't quite remember. Made for me half zip sweater, or me made wardrobe, sorry, I can't remember the name. And I so nearly bought the pattern, and then I stopped and thought, what did I say just a few weeks ago in one of my videos about so often we have patterns already in our stash that we can just tweak a little bit, save yourselves a little bit of money. And I thought I really should go back to the Amari and tweak it, because I have made it up before and it was just too oversized for me, particularly around the collar. The original, I'll insert a picture of what it looks like in their illustrations, their photos. It's got quite a wide collar and the collar is quite low. And the first time I made it, I clocked that and I did make the neckline a little bit narrower, brought it in a bit, but I didn't raise the collar. Even with that, I found it was too wide and I didn't like it that much. So this time I brought the collar in, the neckline in a further ½ inch, and I raised the collar by 1 inch. So I made that adjustment, and this time I also took it in quite a lot around the sleeves. It is quite baggy. I took it in by a full inch, starting from the cuff, going all the way down and then tapering out to the normal hip size, just to make it a bit snugger for me. What else can I say about the Amari? Let me have a look at my notes. Took in the sides. What I did with this as well, I really just took my time with the process, really just enjoyed it. Didn't try and rush, because that's when mistakes happen. I thought carefully about the construction of it. For example, around the collar, this is quite a bouncy fabric, so I had to understitch a little bit around the back of the collar where it joins, and that just means it sits a bit nicer. I also thought about the collar piece. They don't get you to interface it, but I thought this is quite a floppy fabric, so I did want it to be just that little bit firmer. So I put just a thin strip of interfacing, iron-on interfacing, and that just helps it stand up a bit better. Just enjoyed the process, like doing the stitching in the ditch along there to make sure it was really invisible, and really pleased with how it's turned out. I didn't have any ribbing in this colour green. Obviously that's quite a specific turquoisey green, which would be quite hard to find a perfect match, and I didn't want black because I thought that would just be a bit too bold. So I used the fabric itself to make a cuff piece. It hasn't got much stretch, so I didn't go for a really narrow cuff band. I just did 1 inch narrower than the sleeve itself, which I think is perfect. Any smaller than that and it just would have been too difficult to stretch the cuff to get it in. yeah, really pleased with this, and I'm really pleased that I managed to get that Amari pattern to work for me, because it can be annoying when you've got a pattern in your stash and you just don't like it, but sometimes it is quite easy just to tweak it a little bit. So that's what I've just finished making. Following on from my last video, I was talking about the Made for Mermaids Venice Henley bodysuit that I'd made up. And then I was a little bit frustrated by their instructions and their illustrations. And a few of you suggested I take a look at Karina from Lifting Pins and Needles over on YouTube. And she does have a tutorial, not for this exact pattern, but for a really similar, I mean, identical placket construction for the Love Notions Henley t-shirt. And her tutorials, I've never come across her before, were brilliant. She is so clear, explains every little question you might possibly have. You know, a question would be forming of my mind about, well, hang on, how did she do that? And she answered it. She went into so much detail. And so I did a little mock-up following her tutorial of another placket. So obviously it's just done with a bit of scrap fabric from the same fabric I used for my bodysuit. And it's come together beautifully. Probably won't be able to see it very clearly, but there is not a pucker in sight at this bottom bit. It's beautiful. And my main takeaways from her video were, take your time, go slowly, enjoy the process, and be really precise with your markings. So she draws out her stitch line on the back. She did lots of interfacing at the bottom. She didn't make the snips straight away. She did those at the end, which really helped. She uses pins to push through and just check that everything is exactly where it should be. She's really precise. Sometimes I think we rush too much to get these things done. We just want it finished, and sometimes you feel like, oh, I should just be able to do it. Let's just do it, without pausing to find a tutorial, to take your time. And definitely taken that away from her videos, that just enjoy it. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be a hobby. So be as precise as you can, and you will really love the finished product afterwards. So that was that. What else have I been working on? So in my last video, I mentioned that I'd made a bit of a mistake in cutting out my fabric for the Winnie pants, but I went ahead and just made them up, and I've salvaged them. They're absolutely fine. I omitted the pin tucks at the front because I had to downsize to get the leg pieces into the fabric. And by doing that, I thought, I'm probably just going to omit those pin tucks as well to maximize as much width as I have, because there wasn't that much stretch across the width of the trousers. So they are just straight wide leg joggers without the pin tuck. I haven't finished them, so I'll try and put a photo of me wearing them not finished, but they just haven't been hemmed, that's all. So if you can see this dark green fabric, I've mentioned this in my previous video as well. If you want to go and have a look, I can put the card for you. It's in this lovely soft brushed back French terry, really soft and snuggly. I went for the fitted waistband option. If anyone's made these before, one thing that really struck me with the waistband is it's meant to be a fitted waistband. Fair enough, the fabric I had cut incorrectly and didn't have as much stretch across, but I don't know even if I had cut it correctly, and I did hold it the other way around to see how much stretch there would have been. That waistband is tiny. I thought I couldn't even get that over a thigh. I know it's meant to be fitted, but there's fitted and then there's like, can't feel the blood flow. I don't know. So I adapted the waistband, and instead of it being just literally this back piece is meant to be your waistband. That's all they give you for your waistband. So that is your circumference. Yes, there would be stretch in it, but we're not talking super stretchy fabrics. I'll see when I make these up in my proper fabric how that feels. So I added another front piece. I was going to do the drawstring anyway, so that was fine. Added in the drawstring, and now I can just cinch them with my cord, which is just a cotton cord in a dark green. Yeah, so that was one observation I had. I thought that waistband seems tiny. I triple checked that it's just cut one waistband piece on the fold. Yeah, so that was that. So they just need hemming, and then they are good to go. A nice pair of snuggly joggers for the winter. Another thing I wanted to mention that I did with these, so I was doing the buttonhole on the waistband, and after having watched Karina's tutorial, and also just from previous experience of doing buttonholes on stretch, I thought I'm going to do a swatch just to make sure my buttonhole turns out as I want it to. They do have you interface behind the buttonholes anyway, so I interfaced, and if you can see, I did a lot of trials on my buttonholes, so I'm really glad that I tested those out beforehand, because I just, yeah, to start with, it was like the tension was wrong. I thought maybe it's my needle, change my needle, still happening. Maybe I need to interface more, didn't make any difference. I thought, okay, I'll do the tissue paper on the front, maybe it just doesn't like this fabric, that didn't help. And then I thought, I'm just going to go back to basics and rethread the whole machine, and that was it. It did it. So it's quite funny, isn't it? Sometimes we jump ahead thinking, oh, it must be this or that, and it was just my machine that sort of didn't like it and had got itself in a bit of a mess, so I just rethreaded it and it was great. So I got really nice neat buttonholes after that process, so another takeaway from Karina's videos there. And then the last thing I have been working on is my I Am Sunshine jeans. I am going to do a toile for those with trousers, jeans. I always do a toile because you need to be quite sure on the fit of those. It can be a bit fiddly to fit trousers, so I'm always quite careful with doing them. I had hoped to get some happy mail through this week from My Fabrics, but they emailed me to say they were just overwhelmed with the amount of orders they got from their Halloween 30% off offer. So I only got the dispatch email yesterday. So I'm waiting on some cord fabric and some denim fabric. I want to make up two versions of the Sunshine jeans. I want to do the tapered leg and then the balloon version. I think I'll do the balloon version for the cords, and then the tapered version will be for the denim. So I'm going to start doing a toile for those. I can't decide if I'm going to do a wearable toile or just do like a sort of shorts version of the trousers and leave it at that. That's what I've done previously when I've made up trousers, but those trousers have just been quite sort of straight. With these ones, I think the issue I want to double check is the tapered leg and the balloon, of exactly how that's going to look on me, if I need to make any alterations there, if it even suits me. I don't want to do the whole perfect trousers and then realise, oh, I should have done the full toile because I don't like the way that leg sits on me. So yeah, after having said that, maybe I will do a full toile of the tapered version, I think. So, another thing I wanted to share about I Am patterns. If anyone has made I Am patterns before, let me know down below, but I'm really impressed by them so far. Really, really impressed. The first thing I liked when I took it out of the packet was they just have one large A0 sheet and all of the pattern pieces are on there. Now, it's not like Burda, if you've ever done a Burda magazine pattern where you have to sort of literally highlight all your lines because it's all mashed onto one page. This is like you've got the leg pattern piece and they'll put the pocket lining, part of the waistband, all sort of fitted into that leg. I trace my patterns anyway because I don't trust myself to get the fit right first time. I think it's nice to have a traced pattern so you don't have to buy it or print it again. So that was fine for me, and it just meant there was no faffing around with all these big sheets of paper, you know, folding them up when you finish and thinking, oh, I didn't trace that bit, let's get that big sheet out again. So I really liked that. And then the second thing, when I was reading through the instructions, they are very clearly laid out. I like the way they're written, nice detailed illustrations. So fingers crossed, this is going to be a nice pattern to work on. Definitely going to be a more complicated make. Jeans are a bit more involved, but I think they're going to be a good set of instructions to work from. So that is that for today. I don't think I've got anything else that I wanted to share with you. I hope you've been getting up to some sewing, managing to get some garments made up. Let me know down below what you've been working on. I'm always interested this time of year to see what people make, if we're all rushing for all the cozy jumpers and trousers. Any pattern suggestions you've got for me to check out as well, that would be lovely to see what everyone is making. Well, I hope you have a lovely day and enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Happy sewing! Bye!